Season finale. We're done. Okay, 3-hour tell-all with a special 4th-hour surprise. Fine, a special series where they get to clap back at signed-off memes. Coming up on the Fraudcast. Oh my god, just when you thought it was safe to move on to the other way.
I think even the cast are like, is this season going to end? I'm like, you should fucking know. You're the one that signed up for an additional thing. Like, they're all acting surprised. Like, they haven't been filming for this currently. Oh my God, there's more stuff coming up. What a surprise. I'm like, after you cut everything from the tell-all, I guess you got to give something back, right?
It's like they're trying to squeeze blood from a stone, but instead of the stone giving blood, it's like us giving our blood. Because like our eyes are bleeding because we're so damn sick of it all.
Well, so they already inserted an extra episode into the season.
Right.
And then we did the tell-all, which we thought was a 3-hour tell-all over 2 nights. And then they tell us they've got another hour of it next week. And then we get the advertising for this clapback special show where the same cast is quote-unquote clapping back at whatever the social media things that people have said about them.
More like crap back, am I right?
Well, I thought the format was going to be different. I thought it was going to be like, it is like pillow talk from what it shows, but it seems like the cast can all comment on everyone else's segments as well.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought it was going to be more like them being able to comment on their own segments. So it's really just pillow talk with certain scenes that they're all
filming themselves,
commenting on.
Yeah.
And filming themselves because this happened while we're all in quarantine. So there's no other format they can do for us.
I have a pet theory that, you know, because you notice on the tell-all, a lot of them had like ring lights and like cameras and stuff set up that TLC may or may not have provided. I don't have a freaking clue.
Yeah,
they did. They sent them the gear.
Yeah, so they got to make
whatever
the
gear
why
they
it
needed.
looks good, except for Stephanie, that probably has fucking filming equipment in her room already.
Yeah,
for other purposes.
They wanted it to look good, so
basically they have to get their money's worth out of that equipment. The tell-all wasn't enough.
I'm like, do you guys get to keep that equipment? Because if you notice that, like, all of their lives have gotten like an uptick better.
I'm sure they're using it.
I would be using it.
Wouldn't?
Like,
Why
this is
wouldn't we?
TLC rented ring light. Fuck yeah, I'm using that.
God. So here we are, you guys. As you can tell, we have, well, as always, Hanekawa, but we also have Agency joining us. We're doing a end of season wrap up. We are trying to, we're going to sort of wrap up the fraud. We're going to, go through the fraud stories of the season. And then as an administrative note, this will be the final episode of season 1 of the Fraudcast. Bum.
It's about time. What episode are we on in this season?
I don't know, like 562.
I think I first asked, like, so what exactly is a season in podcast land? Because
and I was like, I have
does
no
like
idea.
Season this, season that, and I'm like, what are you seasoning? Where's the divide?
Well, when I started it, and I had the whole debacle at the beginning, losing my, partner and co-host, and then bringing you on, and it was like all this sort of like mashup of stuff. Like it was like, fly by the seat of our pants. Let's just figure out, everything on the fly. And it was season 1. And I had not thought ahead enough about when season 1 was going to end because, I figured it would go along with like the TLC seasons, but everything is kind of such a mess with that. And they don't give us any break at all. Like they give us the last hour of the tell-all, which wasn't the last hour, but it was going to be the last hour, and then followed by The Other Way.
Right.
And then next week starts Happily Ever After. So we'll go into those Sunday and Monday shows.
No break for you.
Yeah. So in any case, this is the last episode of season 1. And then we are going to be taking a little bit of a break.
A what?
A break.
What is that?
I know.
Is that when you like don't do podcast?
Right. Ask Agency. Because they're...
Well, is it going to be like a break like the break that Corey and Evelyn took, where if Corey buys girl shampoo for himself, he's He's a
for his
cheater.
girl parts.
Yeah.
We were on a break.
That's
That's
the
right.
foaming action we do not want, though.
Yeah, you
I
guys
think
don't.
anything involving Corey is something we don't want.
Oh, but he has an OnlyFans.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah, he does, and yeah, no.
And I think he had a strip tease on there. Yeah. In any case, we are going to be taking a break. Probably, I think it's like 2 to 3 weeks. I think we haven't fully decided. I think 3 is what we need, but we'll see if we come back after 2. And the reason for this is, one, we have never, ever since the broadcast started, we have put out a podcast every single week, with the exception of last week. Welcome back, everyone, by the way. We put out episodes over, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and all this stuff. And we physically need the break. But also, we are going to be doing some team building and fun stuff like that. The 3 of us, or 4 if we want to involve our producer. But as we, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having MS brain. As we sort of decide how season 2 is going to look.
We're going to chart the future.
Yeah, we're gonna plan.
Oh, that's the word.
That's right.
That is like a foreign word for some, but plan. We're gonna plan.
so
Plan and
Hanekawa,
calibrate, because there's a lot of like changes that happened on the fly, and we need to all sit down and like understand what everything means and what we're doing in the future, right? We tried a few things on the fly. Some things
Right.
worked, some things didn't. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And there's
Get to
going to
go
be a
back
lot
and
of trust
analyze those
falls and
decisions.
icebreakers and like and
We're gonna
s'mores.
do Zoom trust falls. I don't know how that's gonna look, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure my neighbors 1 floor below me are going to love it.
yeah.
It's like those special clubs where you have to like take a picture of your social security number and share it with everyone. So there's like the trust. Have you gotten into the deep like Zoom
No.
meetings like that?
No.
Oh yeah, to get in.
No, my AA meetings, though, after the Zoom bombs, we password protected them and stuff, but not anything that, I mean, it's AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. We don't even
Right.
use our last names. So, but you have to have video. Like a lot of the individual meetings are saying you have to be in with video so that, we can see that you're the person you say you are. And not just going to Zoom bomb. But anyway, that aside, we're going to do some planning and strategery about how season 2 is going to look. And, like you said, Hanekawa, we did a lot of things on the fly as we started this. And I lost my partner, and then sort of everything, I just sort of scrambled and put everything together. Pulled Hanekawa in. We just kind of did everything on the fly. Every episode was, we decided that, the week before, if that, bringing Agent C on part-time, as a contributor, and then more and more frequently. And, he keeps coming back. He's kind of like the herpes of the Fraudcast.
I'm cool with that.
So we're gonna plan and strategize and figure out what season 2 is gonna look like. So we're gonna take that 2 to 3 weeks and get that done. I do believe that Agency has a PowerPoint.
It's very elaborate.
And that Hanekawa, as the executive project manager that she is, she probably has like a spreadsheet of stuff, and I'm just like scribbling notes with a crayon on some paper. I don't know.
I mean, whatever works, right?
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, just stay tuned. Announcements will be coming. We'll be very excited to share them. And if you're thirsty for content in the interim, you've got tremors because we're not talking at you. You can sign up for the Patreon and get extra content.
Yes, because we
thirsty
will.
cheapskates.
Don't insult the audience.
You lovely thirsty cheapskates. We love you. XOXO.
We will still be putting out
Heart
the
emoji.
Patreon, the paid content. We still will be putting that out. And yeah. So let's jump into what we thought was the last of season 4 of Before the 90 Days. Do we have a social media roundup?
I didn't see anything.
No, because social media is trash and let's set it on fire. Burn, burn, fire, fire.
Fire, 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 fire.
Yeah, social media is just trash. I'm tired of it all. I'm tired of this season. I'm tired of these people. With that said, let's get into the season 4 fraud. We want to jump into Tom and Avery.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was the only fraud that came up on the tell-all, wasn't it? Was the Tom bomb that he had asked Avery out on a date, except it wasn't a date, except it was, maybe it wasn't, but you know, Stephanie's really hot. That was a goddamn shit show.
What the fuck was going on there? He's like, well, actually, I was trying to get sugar tits over here, and she's like, what? And I'm like, wait, was Tom one of the creepy messages that Erica was talking about?
It wasn't Big Ed. Everyone thought it was Big Ed.
No, the time frame wouldn't add up. But
I think Tom was just at the tell-all decided to like light everything on fire and say whatever the fuck he wanted to say. And
dude, he lit everything on fire, then lit a cigarette and just like
he lit multiple cigarettes.
Oh my god! The fact that he's like, well, Avery just mistook my charmingness for wanting to go on a date with her. But I mean, I tried to get Stephanie.
But then later he says he did ask her out on a date.
Yeah, but then he said, "Look, I asked Lisa out too. I'm just a very outgoing guy."
I'm an equal opportunity. Don't you see? Meanwhile, Darcy,
I think he is
like,
the bottom.
What the fuck? Like, it was so awkward for Darcy to just sit there and be like, what? He's like, yeah, Stephanie's gorgeous. I'm like, did you join her OnlyFans, Tom? Are you the guy who joined the OnlyFans?
Yeah, Stephanie did talk about one of the cast members joined her OnlyFans.
It was Tom. Everyone thought it was Ed. That was all over
Everyone
Reddit.
thought it was Ed, and it's really Tom because he said she's a very attractive woman. And I'm like, you know what?
She was hot.
I could see Tom joining the OnlyFans just to sneak a.
But it's the only time that like we lowered our standards because of Ed, and we turned out to be wrong. When normally it's like we thought the bar was here, and he pulled it way down here.
We opened the fridge too many times looking for leftovers and lowered our standards enough to
start eating ketchup out of a jar or whatever.
Oh,
mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise out of a jar.
No, mayonnaise is for his hair. I have no idea.
Well, for him.
I imagine he conditions a lot with that.
Why is this fraud? Why is this fraud? So besides,
there's a missing person, right? There's a person missing in this equation.
Right. So besides Tom just setting everything on fire and just saying whatever the fuck he wanted to say, there is fraud, and it involves Ash. So what we know, and I have the evidence on this, there is evidence. I'm not going to release the receipts on this because that would compromise my source. So I'm not going to release them. And you can believe me or not, but the truth is that this was orchestrated by Ash. And so Ash asked Tom to sort of bait Avery. And I posted this on my Instagram, and the comments on it were, everybody was like, well, she was broken up. They had been broken up for 2 days when she said yes. And as Ash says on the show, he was like, well, 2 days before that we were together, and you're proclaiming your love for me, and you want to marry me, and all of this stuff. And then 2 days later, you accept a date. And whether that's okay or not okay, or there's a problem with that, reasonable minds may vary on that. Who cares? Like, I don't have any judgment.
But I would say, isn't there an aspect of like the cyclicality of their relationship, that they go through these cycles, and so it's not like a breakup in the sense of like there's a true expectation of finality because they've done it so many times at this point.
It's true. They do break up and get back together. Which I
think. If we're going to try to like draw a fairness chart and put a point in for Ash, it's he may have just seen this as another iteration of this breakup cycle, and he wanted to test it. I mean, look, I'm not going to defend this scheme because it's kind of dumb.
With Tom though, because so we were going to take out the idea that Ash knew and that Tom acted on his own free will. Why would he suspect there were any problems? Or is he, would he just be surfing around all the cast members to see who's single?
Why would
because I know they break up, right?
Why would he have sent a text message to Avery asking if she was single or not? Like,
Maybe
why
he
would she have
listens to this show and he knows when the cast members break up.
Well, he hit on Stephanie. He didn't ask her first if she was single or not. So, I mean,
You saw there's like the first episode she and Erica together, it was pretty obvious what was going to happen.
he
with
was like,
them.
I guess they're not together. After like the second episode, we were all like, ooh,
Yeah.
nope. All right. Well, yeah, I don't even know. Like, it's just too well timed, 2 days after. And I don't know. We all know Tom talks to people, so
Right. So
he seems to be friendly with all the cast, so
yeah, I'm not taking a position on the propriety of what happened. I'm just explaining what happened, right? Is that Ash and Tom are friends, and Ash asked Tom to reach out and sort of, finger Avery digitally. And
wait, do what? What?
and see if she would bite, and she did, and then allegedly sent the text the screenshots to Ash. Now, he denies on the show that he says no, he lied to Avery, that he didn't have the screen grabs of the conversation. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Wait, so this might be confusing for people listening. Who received screen grabs from who?
Ash allegedly received screen grabs from Tom of Tom's conversation with Avery, in which Avery said yes to the date.
Gotcha. How else would Ash have known then?
Tom just could have told him. But I would suspect there would be screen grabs, because in this culture,
it's all about screen grabs. How is Tom going to just say, yo, I slid up in your ex's DMs and she said yes to a date that we didn't go on, by the way?
Right. So
I would ask for proof as well. So you'd have to have a screen grab for me.
But also, Ash asked him to do that, right?
I mean, if the point was for him to like get at Avery in some weird way, he would want the evidence that he could show her. Like, look how unfaithful you've been. So
You come with a binder, Danielle style.
Yeah,
Evidence.
but
I can't even say how she does.
They're more sophisticated, so they're just going to use the screen grabs.
So that's the fraud on that. Does that even make sense? Do I need to bust out the whiteboard, the dry erase board that we did with Yolanda, and having to explain that? So, believe it or not, have your opinions about it. Judge Ash, Judge Tom, Judge Avery, whichever you want. I'm not taking a position on the propriety of the whole situation. I am just simply giving the information.
Mm-hmm.
Do with it what you will.
Yeah.
I guess that was really confusing is because after you posted it, I think Avery said it wasn't true, but then we saw it on the tell-all. So that really confused a lot of people, I think.
There were posts out there saying all three people involved deny this happened. So frauded by TLC is full of crap, right?
Maybe it was a portion of it, right, that Ash knew, right? This is kind of like a Jenny knew situation. Did Ash know about this? And I guess, you know what you know, right?
Right, whether Ash knew or not. But yeah, here's the thing, right? Like, I put this information out on Instagram. Other people were like, oh, they must have talked to Ash and Avery or Tom and Avery and stuff. And they posted that all three people involved deny that this happened. But then we saw it on the tell-all. So
then
clearly,
we see it on the tell-all, which it confused me even because I was like, well,
clearly it
I don't know,
happened.
Well, they're probably going to justify it by using some sort of severability argument. They didn't have a severability provision in the story, right? So, right, you can explain this, Katrina, severability in contracts, right? Where if you don't have a severability clause in your contract, if one provision's invalidated, the whole contract's invalidated. So you put severability in there. So if one provision's invalidated, the rest of the provisions are still in force.
So what you're saying is that if one piece of it may be incorrect, that means throw the whole.
Yeah, and they deny based on only 10%. We're going to claim like 10% of it was wrong, so it's all wrong.
But they talked about it on the tell-all, so it's right.
Yeah, so it's a fallacious argument. It's silly, but I think that's their logic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, it's not really that important.
no,
It's
it really isn't.
whatever.
It's kind of stupid.
If it happened, it happened. If it didn't, whatever.
The exact details of what happened and why, I don't know that we're ever going to know, because also, and this comes from behind the scenes, is as of about a couple of days ago, Ash was trying to get Avery back. and or they were back together. So I believe that he could have been not telling the truth at the tell-all because he was trying to get Avery back at that point, and telling the truth would make him look like even more of a douchebag, right?
Yeah. I mean, could you blame him though? Like, we all do things in our fit of anger to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it may be something that, when I say if it did, it did. If it didn't, it didn't happen. I'm talking about whether or not Ash orchestrated it.
Right.
Right? It's not like I'm up for debate on the information. It's just kind of like, it's such a minor detail that it happened, but I guess how it was handled was probably just, I don't know.
Right. And it's entirely possible that whatever, that at the tell-all that weekend, Ash was trying to minimize how bad
You can't
he could
damage
look.
control the tell-all. Like,
Yeah, damage control, that's it. So that he could not look as bad in front of Avery, so that he could try to get Avery back.
yeah, no. Especially when you don't know how things are going to be edited. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just be honest so it's not a surprise on national television. Mm-hmm. That's my only advice.
Yep.
Right. So is there any other fraud from the tell-all? That's all I can think of, but perhaps I'm missing something.
From the whole tell-all?
Yeah, just
I don't know.
yeah,
from their segment, sure. Like, we already talked about Tom, but Tom gets like Tom has two sides. So we already talked about Tom with Avery and Ash, but we didn't talk about Tom with Darcy's timeline about him being the one that stepped out on her.
Right.
There was a whole nother incident of her dating
Right.
another guy in that same time frame. So,
Yeah. So
Frauded, I think you have the most information on this.
yeah. So the timeline. Okay. So you saw on the tell-all Darcy talking about the timeline. Her birthday in relation to the fashion show. At which point, Tom had the pictures of Shannon, which actually I always think of this is hilarious every time they do the recap. I'm the one that posted those pictures. So however Stacy and Darcy ended up with them, whether it was via Florian or not, or whether it was they saw them that I posted them, because I was the only one that posted them. I mean, they got reposted after I did, but I was the first one to post the Milan.
Definitely, but the ones they had didn't have your watermark unless they're really good at Photoshop, which we know they're
No,
not.
didn't have my watermark. So my guess is that Tom gave them the originals.
They had to be provided.
So yeah. Because I have the originals, but TLC didn't come to me to sign off on them. But I have the originals before I watermarked them and put them up.
I don't think TLC is going to come to you to sign off on anything.
I'm thinking frauded
They're
by
not really
TLC as a
sign-offable
username.
Instagram handle, so
So okay, so this timeline. So Darcy was talking about this a lot on the show, that she had a birthday and she was under the impression they were together and he was going to call her and all this stuff. Tom did make a brief mention on the tell-all saying, yeah, but there's other stuff. I'm not going to get into it. Or he said that I think he might have said that on Instagram in response to something, that there's other stuff that he wasn't going to get into. Well, I will, because that's what I do on the Fraudcast. So what happened was, back in September, when all of this went down, they were not, they were not together. Okay. So this was in September. Their season was still airing, so they had to play this role as if they were still together, or they couldn't tell you because they don't want to spoil how that season ended. So this is in September. Their season is still airing. They are not together. Early September is either late August or early September. I'm not exactly sure of the dates. Darcy was seeing another man. And seeing this other man continued for several months at least. This man is named Michael. Michael lives in the UK. He has an Instagram name that is like fitness something or other. You guys may remember a episode in which we played, because he left me a lot of messages and of information he wanted out there because he was mad at Darcy. We played some of that. That was where where Hetero Life Mate would make fun of him and say, I don't know Darcy, I've never met Darcy. That guy. Okay, so he says he's never met her, but we had evidence that they did in fact meet. In fact, we have pictures of them together. But back to September. So at some point in August or September, Darcy sends him videos, naked videos of herself. And we know she's sending them to him because she says his name in the videos. And what happened is somehow these videos got into the hands of Tom's sister, who then forwarded them to Tom, and then all this stuff went down on social media. At the time, we touched on it, and that's when we had a lot of the Michaels coming on and saying, I don't know her, and then saying, yes, I know her, I've been dating her for 4 years, and these are videos. I have those videos because he sent them to me because he was mad at Darcy and wanted them posted. I, of course, was not going to do that, but that's how I saw them. I have a screenshot of when Tom was sent these pictures, okay? That these videos of her saying Michael's name and all that stuff, those are date and time stamped in early September. So he found out Darcy was stepping out on him in early September. He meets Shannon sort of end of September. So when they were talking on the tell-all about this time frame, and there was something else that sort of happened, and they blocked each other on social media and whatnot, they were not together. And so Darcy trying to make it sound like she's this victim of Tom stepping out on her, when she, in fact, was doing the same thing because they were not together at the time. Of course, neither of them are going to say that because contractually they're not allowed to.
Well, I think they were both just separated because Fashion Week in Milan is like the first couple weeks of September, or the second and third week of September.
I think it was the second and third week. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why it was a big deal, but it seems like it was to make it look like Darcy was the victim.
Right.
And Tom was the one that just led her on. And because they have to think about the longevity of Darcy's storyline. I don't think they really care about Tom's.
No, they're just...
So they're going to make sure that Darcy has, like, I don't know, a continuing potential story about finding herself and da-da-da-da-da.
They have to maintain her image, and she was sort of propped up as the good girl. On this,
right, like the 90-day
tell-all.
sweetheart who's just trying to find love and continues to find it
Just
in all
keeps getting done
terrible
dirty.
places. She keeps getting done dirty, girl.
So that's the timeline.
Gotta rise up.
That's
Gotta
the
be
timeline.
strong.
With Tom.
Gotta find myself.
What?
Damn it.
Okay, so that's Tom and Darcy. Based on talking about private pictures.
Yolanda.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and that is, what of Yolanda's story isn't fraud? Is there anything genuine that we were shown
Not
in
even
this
her
season?
name. Yeah, not even her name.
You know, I think everything was reenacted, to be honest. I have a feeling that she really did get catfished by whoever this Williams was, but I think that the events that happened were strung along to make it seem like it was this long-term event, when actually it was like a quick, I found out he was catfishing me and it ended, versus, like, they make it seem like she was talking to him for years or, you know, long-term, I should say, and then never really got to meet him because he never had a camera. Like, they knew this was a catfish, like, when they started filming her stuff, which is why they had to go back and reformulate her story to be like this hunt for Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, no, nothing is real. And even the recording timelines is all messed up from when they did the, what do you call it?
Reverse
did the image search
reverse
to
image
when she
search.
was asking him about the pictures and
Right,
stuff. They made
because-
it seem like it came before, but it was actually flip-flopped, which I don't think had anything to do with her hospitalization, as like, because that's popped in there too, because she got really sick. It's just crazy. But
Let's clarify for the audience, though, what this broken up timeline, the things that were filmed out of order.
so
The
two
timing of the
things that
reverse image search and all of that.
Right. So the reverse image search was, if you watch the show when her kids do it, and I think it's Sandra Day O'Connor. God, don't quote me on that. As I said before, Google, everyone knows if you go to Google on a holiday, they have like a special graphic to celebrate that holiday. When they did the image search, there was a special graphic that lined it up with like, I don't know, February 20th of this year, 2020.
Something like International Women's Day, or
I think it was a woman, and I feel bad that I don't know. We'll have to add it to the show notes so I don't feel so terrible. But it was that special day, in which was a terrible day for them to try to film something. I don't know why no one would have caught that. But they did the image search in February, and then the messages where she's confronting Williams was in November of 2019. So I don't know how she was able to confront him about the pictures she image searched in the future.
right.
Unless she's that magical. And all this happens way before she gets sick, before she's in a coma with, I think they think it was probably COVID, but earlier than COVID was known, whatever. Like, that is separate. Like, I can imagine that's probably why they had to go back and film extra stuff, like the PI or the private detective or whatever. Mm-hmm. That seemed like it was done because we saw that they were kind of filming it themselves. So it was probably around the same time as quarantine happened.
Right.
And she does look a little different. Probably like she, I would say like she lost more weight from one scene to another. So
well,
clearly time has passed by. And if you're in a coma.
In that episode, the filming, like the scenes changed from being self-filmed. You could tell they were being filmed on their phone. And cutting to the next scene, obviously filmed, but with a regular camera. So they spliced these scenes together, these shots together,
right,
that were clearly filmed at different times. And that was like, I remember it was like Kara, the daughter, walking down the stairs and all of this stuff. And then the next scene was, the private investigator on being filmed on the cell phone. And then the next was, filmed with a regular, the regular gear. Yeah. But do we want to go, let's go back and talk about what we learned early in the season about her talking to multiple Nigerian men.
I don't know about multiple. All I know is the Williams guy and the Uche guy. Were there more than those two?
Well, okay, just at least those two, and how we found them.
I'm like, okay. I'm missing like 7 of the others then. That's really squirrely. Like, I know that there has to be like a step back to re-explain this, mm-hmm. but like, I need an hour to re-explain this to people. So we'll have to add references in the show notes for people to go back to the episode where we fully explained it. And also probably, one of the posts where I actually make an infographic to try to explain.
And people were still like, I'm confused. I don't know.
People are still confused. So I don't, like diving in deeper to this is just going to re-confuse people. But
I mean, the bottom line is she was talking to multiple men. And one of the men that she was talking to was this Nigerian man named Uche, who I interviewed way back in March, I think. And if you guys want to see that interview, I can post it in my stories.
It's also on YouTube, right?
Yes, it's also on my YouTube.
It's everywhere because Uche has talked to many people to try and clear his name of being the Williams, right? For the most part, what we know is that he is not the Williams.
He could be, but we don't know for sure. We don't think he is, but, we think he's a separate man that she was talking to. To try to oversimplify it, she was talking, the way the story goes, she was talking to Williams. She was also talking to Uche. And Uche was being accused of being Williams, and he didn't want that out there. He wanted to clear his name and say he's not a scammer. And Williams is being accused of being a scammer. So he came public, and that's when I did the interview with him, and he had all these screenshots of conversations with Yolanda that we have posted. Hanekawa did a very good, it's like 7 slides, I think, but it explains.
Yeah, it's a lot of slides.
It explains the sort of timeline of what happened, but basically Uche seemed to know, he knew about the filming, he seemed to think he was warning her that Williams was a scam, but I don't know.
Yeah. So he knew about him. I'm pretty sure Williams knew about the other guy. She was talking to both of them at the same time. The reason why it was suggested that one of them could be Williams is because they commented frequently on her Instagram posts, with I love you, baby, and you're mine, and hearts and emojis and more emojis. So that's kind of where I don't want to say the rumor started that either of them were Williams, especially since later. I mean, this is squirrely.
Yeah.
Later, when we, get deeper into the episodes, we can see that the profile pic of the other Instagram, so not the Uche one, the other one at the
Williams
time
one.
was like Nicaea, and it turned into this, and it turned into that, and it turned into this, and it turned into that. So it changed like its name 5 times, and then it disappeared.
Right.
So, I mean, if the other one was Williams, like, it's not an actual Instagram anymore.
It was at one point this Nigerian educational whatever it was. And you remember Kara talking on the show about when they found this thing, they researched it, his profile. It came back as associated with this Nigerian school,
yeah.
engineering school or something like that.
And that's what we found it as. So we found the
Right.
same profile pic that they saw, which was how we were able to align that they were indeed the same profile. But after it was publicized, especially in Sarcasm's article, which is another thing we should link here that explains it again very well. It just, I don't know. It's squirrely, but none of her stuff seems real. It seems like it was reenacted based on a small sliver of truth that she got catfished. But why she was still communicating with these people after the filming, I don't know, because that was like in February where Uche came to you and was like, what the,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, what else do we know about Yolanda, or what we know that?
Well, let's talk about the rumors that she was never married to her supposed soulmate that she
Baby
says
daddy.
on the show, the baby daddy, yeah. And that he was never really around because he was on consistent jewel heists around the country.
And resulting in prison
arrests.
stays. Lots of prison stays.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
and also the rumor.
squirreliness,
There's
too.
also an attendant rumor that there was he had another baby mama. So that there's kind of a cluster of potential fraud claims. We should.
Well, I think it
evaluate.
goes as kind of putting Yolanda as being the side chick, right?
That's kind of maybe.
Yeah, because if they weren't married, we've never been able to produce a marriage certificate on them. And as far as the other stories, I think somebody else some other outlet picked up the baby mama, talked to her daughter or something, and that's how we got the information. We did not go down that road and vet all that because at the time, and still honestly, to be honest, there's so much stuff with this cast because they are such a fiery hot mess that it was keeping up with the cast shenanigans and antics was enough that we didn't have the resources to go down the side characters, which is a shame because the side and ancillary characters are always my favorite.
I think TLC knew that and basically just threw you a freaking dumpster fire and said, have fun with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's it with Yolanda. The PI thing, I mean, I'm just commenting on like that PI portion. They didn't even mention that they did a reverse image search. I thought that would have been like, I don't know, their key evidence that she felt her mom was being catfished by saying we did a reverse image search and it came out to be a hot bronze model dude with muscles in park. And
Yeah.
that never came up. So maybe that could be a timeline thing to where that didn't happen yet. So who knows?
Who knows? I
Who knows?
want to find that PI and reach out to him. Although if he has ethics as a PI, he's not going to talk to me about anything.
Do you think he's a real PI though, or is he like a producer's cousin in a suit?
It's a very good idea. It's a very good thought.
That seems to be the theme. Is like, oh, my brother looks like a PI. I'll bring him.
And
in.
then in another, we're going to see him on like the other way as one of the immigration attorneys or something.
I like how he had one of those FBI hats that you can buy from street vendors here in Washington.
Dude, the PIs from this season, like the guy in Ukraine, that PI was like, I would not have told him he was fired. I would have been like,
No, because
I'll take this and go home and thank you so much. And like,
because Sergei's friend Vladimir would show up at your hotel later that evening, and you might not ever be heard from again.
And there was some rumor that Vladimir was or Boris in the basement of the Kremlin.
Vladimir, what's his name? It was
Boris in the basement of the Kremlin is the one talking to David, not Lana.
Oh my
But
god.
while we're
Poor
on
Boris.
Lana and David,
Oh Lord.
Should we move on to Lana and
Yes.
David?
yes, that was my transition. That was my smooth transition.
That was your smooth transition.
Since we were already on them, and I was trying to point at Agent C so he could pick this up. We got to work on this. This is why we need a break, you guys. This is the stuff we need to work on. I'm pointing at Agent C because we have video screens of all of us. So we're pointing at Agent C to pick up talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, David practically frauded the production crew as far as we know, right?
No, I think it was the opposite. I think the production crew did him dirty by spinning up this fake ass story.
What is your evidence?
I don't reveal sources, but
There is evidence.
there is evidence that it was not David that was frauding the production. It was production making a story because certain events led to them having to do that. Does that make sense?
No.
So, so like, again, I'll try to rephrase. 'Cause like David and Yolanda's stories are so freaking fantastic that they're unbelievable when they're really crazy. But just things like locations of the candy shop, the train station, locations.
Let's recap some of that fraud.
Where do you want me to start?
At the beginning.
In the beginning,
we got
there was a man named Dave who wanted to meet a woman named Lana.
we got a review that didn't like the fact that we didn't recap our fraud stories.
I don't mind recapping, but like I also want to also refer people back to episodes where we explained it a lot better and it was fresh in our minds because I don't want to leave anything out and I don't want to confuse any people anymore.
Right. Well,
trying
and also
to remember
we
from
covered
the
that.
top of my
Yeah,
head.
We covered
what
that
happened.
on that episode. It's like when people come into my frauded night lives and it's like 45 minutes in, they're like, I just got here. What have you talked about so far? Like, you want me to recap the entire 45 minutes that I just talked? Like,
it's hard. So with Dave, I feel like, so this is just our theory. I hate to say theory, but
some of which we have evidence for, right?
some of which we have evidence, but I can't, like, you can't speak too much or it reveals different parts of it that I don't know if are true or not. But, for instance, he gets there. Nothing is wrong with like when he gets there and misses the train, whatever. There's no proof to say that was fake or not. But just his road trip from his original hotel to Pavlograd just doesn't make sense. So the candy shop that she likes to go to that's around the corner from her apartment, right? That's where they stopped as one of their first stops.
He popped in there to see if the candy shop owner knew her.
To see if she knew her, and lo and behold, she didn't. Why didn't she know? Because, well, Lana's apartment was actually an hour and a half away car ride, actually in Pavlograd. The candy shop they went to wasn't in Pavlograd.
Right.
The flower shop that he goes to is right across the street from the candy shop, which is an hour and a half away from the restaurant that he organizes to meet her in. Mm-hmm. If he was going to meet her in a restaurant that was convenient for her, why would he choose one an hour away from her assumed apartment that's around the corner from the candy shop?
Right.
Confused yet? And then he gets stood up again, and that whole scene seems crazy because, like I pointed out, the one guy is sitting in the seat for, 4 hours looking at his phone.
Right. Not eating.
I'm assuming he's a producer dude. There's just a lot of inconsistency with Dave's story.
Of what was shown on TV.
Of what was shown. And I'm also going by a lot of the stuff that he kind of said in the tell-all, it seemed like he was trying to clarify parts of the story that didn't make sense. You know, how much he really spent, why she doesn't talk to him.
How long he's
they have communication outside the site, but they don't use it because she doesn't speak English well.
And her nails.
She doesn't have a phone because of her manicure is too important.
Well, she has the phone. She just can't manipulate the typing.
What do her nails look like? I want to know. Like, I'm thinking like those secretaries with the.
I've seen them use phones quite easily.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Like,
watch a
you
lot of
will-
makeup videos, and these women have these really, really long nails, and they're
getting precise lines on their
Yeah.
liner, right? Like, they're making it work.
Yeah.
So,
it's a,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. His story is just very unbelievable, and I think the absence, like, if you've noticed that all the cast had like special interviews with news stories, except for Yolanda, which we say the story was probably made up, and then Dave has had none either.
Which is
Why?
the
Because what is he going to talk about? Some made up scenario he probably doesn't even know how it was edited. So
yeah. They're like, here, go in this candy shop. Oh, here, go in this flower shop. And they knew that she wasn't there, right?
right.
They intentionally don't, I mean, did they intentionally go to the wrong apartment? Does she actually live there? Does she not live there? Like, what was that about? Like, the suspicion is that his whole first trip to Russia is bullshit.
Ukraine.
What?
Ukraine.
Yes. Ukraine, not Russia.
Your mind is in Russia.
My mind is still in Russia. Why is my mind in Russia? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's Jeffrey and Barry.
But he did clarify that they weren't dating. He wasn't dating her exclusively for 7 years.
Right.
It was an off and on thing, and they were only serious for the past like 2 years.
Yeah.
So that whole like waiting for her for 7 years was really not. It was more like.
And I suspect, based on what he had told, that he's been to, Ukraine probably, 20 something times or whatever, that his prior trips to Ukraine, she didn't necessarily stand him up. He was going to talk to any number of women that he was talking to at the time, right?
She was just one of the on the list, and if he didn't see her, he didn't see her. He had 4 more he was going to meet. So.
Right. Because that's how these guys do this, right? And I think David and even to some extent Caesar tried to explain that they're talking to multiple women, the women are talking to multiple men. The men will plan a trip to Ukraine to go see them. And, a lot of the guys will tell the women they're going to do that, but they don't actually do it, right? And then a handful will actually do it. They go on these trips, these love tours, which we talk about extensively on an episode of the Patreon. We're doing a whole series on foreign marriage and dating customs, and we did a show on Ukraine and these love tours, right? So he goes over there and he talks about, I'll meet you at the social or whatever, and he has like 5 or 6 women that he's possibly going to meet. They may or may not show up. He may or may not show up. So, and then when he talks about her still being on the sites, it makes sense in this way that he tried to explain it, was that until her visa is in hand and she's on the plane to the United States, like anything could fall apart. So she's got to like hedge her bets, right?
Well, it's like not putting all your eggs in the same basket, because if he chooses he doesn't want to be with her, then she's severed her communication
With all her other potential visa.
Whatever, and how long it apparently takes to get the site set up. So it's kind of like once you're in, you stay in until like you've actually gone to the States,
right?
And you're actually getting married, and you're actually like married. I guess that's how long they
It's
stay
like applying
on them.
for a job. You never stop applying for a job until you've signed the contract.
Yeah, until you got your W-2 slid under HR, you don't stop applying for jobs.
Right.
Once
so
you take the piss test, that's when you stop applying for jobs for some people.
And I just want to make a comment because I had opinions about this. And so when they're doing David's segment on the tell-all, Ed is like, $300,000 is what you've spent. And he's screaming at him, for one, as if he spent all $300,000 on talking to Lana, which he wasn't. It was just his participation on the site over the last X number of years, which is forever, right? So he's spent all this money. But the second thing was, David's got this money to spend, right? Like, let him spend it. These are the women that he likes. Let him, he's gone to Ukraine 20 times. I'm not going to criticize where you've gone on vacation. Why is Ed criticizing where David goes on vacation, basically?
You could make the argument that David is more honest than Ed because his intentions were clear at the outset of his trips, whereas Ed's were not. And a lot of people on social media would agree with that statement.
I think so.
And if you do the math, like, Dave only spent probably about 15 grand a year on this site and excursions to Ukraine.
That's his entertainment.
That's not a lot.
Entertainment and dating
for
budget.
someone who's making a ton of money. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah, and the concept of spending money on someone you're dating is not a foreign concept. Like maybe it is to Ed, who threw a fit
I think
about
it's the fact
15
that he
cents.
spent the money using a dating site, right? He spent all that money talking to people. He spent money on chatting to people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Ed's business, because who knows what Ed spends his fucking money on.
Right?
But
He probably pays for porn.
probably cam girls. Like, he tried
Cam
to
girls,
treat
yeah.
Rose
You
like
know,
a cam girl.
people who spend money on cam girls or cam boys or whatever.
I say you do you, though, but
Right.
don't criticize other
Exactly.
people for their life choices and what they want to do. Like, what did Ed want the money to go into his pocket instead? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
And
portion of it
just
at
the
all.
whole, like, he has the money to spend, yeah. But he can spend what he wants on his dating and entertainment budget. Just because Ed may balk at the 15 cents that, you know, Rose tipped the guy when she bought the $3 pajamas, like, he freaks out about that. You know, he spent money on these fancy hotels and stuff to take her. That's the same concept. It's part
He
of
was
your
deducting from his wine expenses.
dating his dating and entertainment budget.
Right.
So, you know, if David wants to spend his money traveling to Ukraine and trying to meet women, I got no beef with that.
Got no beef.
Yeah.
At least he's not doing it here.
What does that mean?
I mean, some nice American girl is going to be spared having to be with David forever. And aren't we all better off for that?
wig. Having to take care of his wig.
I don't know if he can spend $15,000 on just, you know, I mean,
He's got all that money.
it's all about what you want. Like I said with Dave, like, he's seeking that lifestyle. He's not stuck doing it.
Right.
You know, like, I'm not
This
trying
is
to say
what
he's
he wants.
Casanova out here in Vegas, but he's going after what he wants, not what he's forced to deal with. Like, he
Right.
wasn't driven out of the country to go find someone because he can't hit it here.
Right. This is what he prefers.
He lives in Vegas. There's a lot of options.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Yolanda said no. But there are other girls out there, David.
Yeah, you know,
Other women.
like, I mean, I sound like a, you know, I don't know, like, I think David got done dirty on the show, and while I may or may not, again, I'm not necessarily passing judgment on, you know, look, if you want to spend your money, like you said, you do this. He's well aware that Lana is also in this for transactional purposes. You know, he's fully aware of this. He's fine with it. You guys, like, you say he's getting scammed. He's not getting scammed because he knows exactly what he's getting, right?
But you know who was getting scammed that they felt they needed to bring to the tell-all? Was Caesar.
Oh,
Does anybody
God.
I don't
believe-
understand the placement, but he came to be like, yeah, sure, I went to Ukraine. I saw Maria. We took pictures, and magically they disappeared.
Does anybody believe-
Caesar's thirst rivals Tom's in this instance.
I'm pretty sure he came with the opening of an envelope for this one, but
But
Like-
do anybody believe that he actually met Maria?
No, I don't.
it's really hard to believe because I feel like he would have found a way to. So there's
He would have
there's
posted.
two rumors going around, right? The one that's not rumors, the truth. I say that with quotes. That's presented in the tell-all is that the images like somehow got ruined, damaged, deleted, whatever. And then there's another rumor that's flying around that he went there, they took pictures, but she didn't sign off for them to be used publicly.
Right.
As she would, because if they use the blurred face, what the fuck's the point, right? Anyone could be Maria with blonde hair. But I feel like she found a way to take pictures with Jesse. So it's not like she doesn't want to be on Instagram, right? So I don't know. I feel like Caesar would have posted pictures of him and Maria if he actually went out there to meet her. But who knows? I mean, it's just weird. Did you go out there? Yeah, we had dinner. It was great. I have no evidence. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. That's up there with, like, Nicole going to Morocco.
It also kind of implies a level of disposable income that Caesar doesn't appear to have.
That too. Like he would have had to have a loan taken out,
Another
or
one.
TLC had another loan, or he
If
did a lot
TLC
of
paid
manicures
for it,
that
we
summer.
would have seen it on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they showed Yolanda's story, for God's sakes. They would have shown Caesar attempting to meet her again.
Right.
If this happened, if this really happened, he really went to Ukraine again, and he really met her, you better believe TLC's cameras would have been there.
They would have been following, like a follow-up special.
Yep.
Better what now than him digitally feeding another paid model. I don't know. It's just
Ugh.
it's quarantine versus what now. I don't think he was on what now.
He was
Yeah,
on
but-
Get
quarantine
them
though,
mixed
and that was
up because
bad
they
enough.
keep
That's the one
slamming
we
us
showed
with
his
these
feet.
spin-offs.
He was shoving his toes at the camera, and
I didn't see the toes.
I'm gonna show them
scared.
to you.
No, you're not. I've seen enough toe on Instagram. Okay.
Isn't it an absence of toe that you've been seeing on Instagram?
No, yeah, because
Oh, touche. I'm done with you. Anyways, who should we move on to next? We have Ed and Rose, we have Steph and Erica, and we have
let's do the fan favorites, Lisa and Usman. I'm really inverting the meaning of fan favorites at this point.
Yeah, they're not fan favorites. I mean, some people probably
ask
like-
about them all the
people
time.
probably like
'cause-
Usman over like Lisa, and some
Well,
people
let's
really
let's
like
frame it this way.
Lisa.
No one likes them, but people like to watch them.
There's the difference, right? You like to watch the train wreck.
Here's the thing with them is since the beginning of the season, they have each been doing interviews and lives with anybody who will listen.
Right.
And
Telling their story.
Telling their story. Each time they tell a story, it's different. They're broken up, and then they're back together. The next one, they're broken up again, and then they're back together. So when people come on, like my Friday Night Lives or whatever, or DM me and ask me, are they broken up? I have no evidence to prove that they have permanently broken up or that they're permanently back together, because they do this every other week. Every week, probably. One goes up live and says, Usman talks about how terrible Lisa is and how he divorced her. And then Lisa does one and talks about, oh, yeah, but we're back together and true love conquers all and I love him, right?
Right. And they're back and forth. So when people do ask, are they still together? I'm like, well, this week they might be, but next week they won't. So I don't know. That's not really the question to ask. And I don't know if there's any actual fraud to do with them, because we just don't fucking know with them what's
Right.
true or what's false,
Right.
right?
No, the thing with them is just like, and it's not really grist for the mill here. It's just that Lisa is a goddamn Tasmanian devil on social media.
Yeah. But that's
yeah.
not fraud.
No, it's not
Right?
fraud.
It's not fraud. That's just her. So a lot of people are angry, and I'm gonna bring this up here, that the tell-all cut out a very important thing that happened that came out of Lisa's mouth,
Right.
and they cut it completely out, which angers a lot of people.
Which big freaking
and
surprise, right? Jeez.
I understand, but I think because the leak happened, they need to address it.
Okay, and for those who don't know, who didn't see the leak, who aren't on Instagram, Lisa, during the tell-all at one point, either she called him this or she referred to him as this. She used the N-word.
So what happened is, so there's a part when he's talking about, I want to know if all American women are like this, right? In the leaked footage, he segues into, she called me the N-word. And the whole time he's about to say it, you see her with her finger going, don't you start opening a can of worms.
Well, and we've also seen Instagram posts where she has referred to him as that. So
Right. So she said it multiple times, I'm assuming, and TLC just kind of glossed over it. And right now is not the time to be glossing over that. So
correct.
there was also, I know we said we had no social media roundup, but for them, I don't know where this was, I don't know where this was posted, but Anonymous Gossip had reposted a clip of Sean Robinson replying to someone who said, hey, it was taken out. And she said it's being addressed right now.
What does she mean by that?
I have no clue.
Are they
With
ta-
Sean,
are they-
we don't know what she's talking about. She claps back, but she claps back in like...
Well, we also
know.
saw a post where an interview Lisa was scheduled to do was canceled because TLC said no.
They're probably done with their fucking talking. Like,
But just now they're doing that. They didn't stop her at the beginning of the season. They're
I
just
think
now.
they are very slow at catching when the cast are making any kind of media appearance, or I don't know if it's media or not, but like Instagram lives. Like, how are they going to know? Because some of them just pop on.
True.
Right?
I
They
mean,
pop on to pop off.
They canceled. They were the ones that intervened when I was supposed to interview Dean because I had advertised that I was going to interview
Yeah, they're
him.
probably going to cut you off at the knee.
If I just
Any advertisement with frauded by TLC,
yeah,
they're gonna be like,
my
yeah,
lesson.
no,
the
how about
lesson
not?
learned is don't advertise this stuff in advance.
Don't advertise, just do it. If you have them saying they want to do it, just get on live and do it right then and there. Everyone else does it that way.
Yeah.
But I can imagine she's causing a lot of trouble, which is why TLC's like, look, you're not getting your last check if you don't shut up.
So this is kind of a meta question. Apart from this issue with Lisa, like, I would think that what we do continues to like keep viewership at its level or increased to TLC properties. I don't think we're not costing them eyeballs. I don't think.
We're probably not costing them, but they're not going to hand us any cookies for what we do.
No.
Not
And they get
necessarily.
mad. Like, I think generally
And
they
they're
don't
not going
care
to let
about
us sign
me.
off on any memes
Yeah.
to show on the show either.
I think generally they don't care about me. But when I reveal stuff like Sumit is married, like they got pissed off about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was like the big reveal. That was like the big aha or the ta-da
Yeah.
in the
You
storyline.
took from the aha moment.
Yes,
That's like, that's
exactly.
stealing the sunshine, right? And I mean, I can imagine they felt the same when this leak happened, but that wasn't our fault. So
Yeah. Otherwise, they don't care about me. I don't think.
So here's a theory. Is that why they're doing the couples tell more, this thing next week, so they can address?
the couples tell more. That should have, you know what? I think that they just have extra foot. I don't know what else they're going to fit in an hour.
Do you think they might address that issue there? And like, that's their response to kind of the moment, sort of the meta moment. And this kind of pushback they're getting is that they're going to do a new cut with some additional footage and then address
I
it
don't know
there.
if Sean would have been happy about that, though. Like, we have a great surprise. We're going to talk about this bullshit.
We're going to talk about Lisa being a racist.
Yeah, no, I don't know. And that should be addressed promptly, not made some kind of like, you know, to gain more ratings or something next Sunday because we don't have another show out.
There's
ready.
nothing they won't exploit. I think. I'm not sure they have a bottom in terms of what they'll feed off of.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are not happy, so I
think?
don't know. But
I mean, and then
yeah.
her excuse for saying it was, you know, well, I can because I'm not racist because I'm married to a Nigerian. And that whole argument is like some of my best friends are black, you know, which is, by the way, in case you weren't aware, that's not okay. That's not an appropriate response to being called racist. No,
I don't think Lisa is an appropriate response to much anything. So, as with the rest of the world, I'm done with her. I don't know if you're done with her.
I'm done with her. I've been done with
They
her.
also cut out Usman singing. Like when
Oh,
everyone
thank
was
goodness.
fighting, he broke out in song.
Maybe they're
and I
going to
was
give
like,
this to us next week.
So you heard it here first. I predict she'll be back for The Other Way season 3.
No.
They're bringing her back for this clapback.
Well, the clapback thing is kind of like the quarantine thing. It's like,
But see,
here's
here-
an extra 500. do
Earlier in the season, they were done with Lisa. And now they're not done with Lisa. So who knows what they'll do with her.
That's why I'm saying you heard it here first. The Other Way season 3 is going to feature Lisa moving to Nigeria to be with Usman and keep them
We'll
females
see.
away.
We'll
And
see.
is she's going to lose
Ooh,
another
she
toe?
goes back to Nigeria.
Yeah, but then there's going to be an arc
to help him find his
second wife. Yeah, that's going to be the
Yes.
whole story.
That's a good spinoff.
90
Seeking
Day-
Sister
90
Wife.
Day Seeking Sister Wife crossover. You heard it
Yes!
here first, guys. We broke it.
Please, Matt Sharp, please make this happen. Please make this happen. Do a crossover.
Like, just don't pay her for it.
So do it anyway.
She'll do it.
do
She'll
it
violate
anyway.
her contract by going rambling some shit on Instagram and you won't have to pay her. It's fine.
Yeah. But you guys, like, do not be surprised. You get it in your head now. You know this is coming.
All right.
I don't know about that, but we'll see what more bad choices TLC will make with casting
This would be a really great bad choice
people
to make.
like her.
Okay. And so
Speaking of bad choices, can we go to Ed and Rose?
is there
Yes.
is there fraud to talk about with them?
It's not really fraud that we know about, but I don't know. Did we want to speak on his like weirdness?
And he's
I
a
don't know.
piece of shit, an entitled, lying piece of shit. I mean,
The one thing that he did not deny, didn't like deny as passionately as everything else, was the whole sex tape thing.
It would be
oh,
really
yeah.
great if we could get
He's
a
like,
statement or some
are we really going to
screenshots.
talk about this? Yeah. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not here to recap the tell-all for you. That was millennia of it for you to see yourself. But, I mean, yeah, Ed was an entitled piece of shit. And when they brought that up, the sex tape, he was like, are we really going to go there? Which indicates that there is actually a sex, this sex.
So the only thing to really clarify with their story is that who knows who contacted who first. We don't know about that. But the whole, like, she contacted me and then she posted that she was married with a woman in February or after Valentine's Day. But the picture that he's referring to is posted in January. Mm-hmm. So, fraud or not, convenient mix-up of dates or whatever. But the person that she's holding hands with is her cousin. I really think she was just trolling the fuck out of Ed.
Yeah.
But she's not married to a woman, and she wasn't. She probably was just trying to, like, say, stop messaging me. I don't know. Next, we have Steph and Erica. Was there any fraud with them?
I mean, Steph is.
There was just drama,
It's
but
drama,
was
It's
there
drama.
any fraud?
It's drama. I mean, we talked a little bit throughout our shows, throughout the season about like the dinner that they had and whatnot. But a lot of their stuff is she said, she said. So, we weren't there to see what was on the phones. It's hard for us, my production sources that were giving me information couldn't see what was on the screen. So, we don't have hard evidence one way or the other to support either of their stories. They've both been going after each other hard on social media since the tell-all aired last week. My only thought is, I thought Stephanie was completely out of line.
Oh, she was ridiculous. But I mean,
but
you guys, everyone who pays attention knows I don't like her.
Yeah, and everybody knows I'm an Erica apologist. So, Hanekawa, we had this debate, right, where it was, you and I debated the two of them, right?
But it's like debate. There's no right or wrong. There's no this person is better than the other person.
Well,
Point
except
counterpoint.
if you like Stephanie,
They're
you're
both
wrong.
not good for each other.
If you like Stephanie, you're wrong.
So apart from that, yeah, there's no debate.
Agency.
I mean, this is the whole thing. We always cry that everyone on the show is fake. There'd be no exception for Erica. There is portions of her that have to be fake. There are portions. She got a good edit.
She did.
And she took advantage and ran with it. So that's what we have.
And
like,
Stephanie's
we won't
just a
really
bitch.
know the ins and outs of
But
the
I will say
relationship.
Stephanie's really good at the self-immolation aspect of the story, of her storyline.
Yeah, you're using big words
She
again.
pours gasoline on
what?
herself and lights a match. That's what I mean.
Yeah, just the whole, I don't want to talk about it. What's my dad's name and all this stuff. And then they're all posting screenshots about this is how our conversation went. And I don't know. It's so much drama. I don't know. We don't have hard evidence to support either side at this point. If we do get any, we'll share it, I guess.
And one thing I'll mention is that there's a lot of sort of batting, like between the Stephanie haters and Erica haters, there's a lot of batting back and forth about, and they even brought it up on the tell-all, like, was Stephanie really into Erica, like the nature of her disease? Until we have like actual evidence, like no comment,
Yeah, I mean, some of it is just
Well,
opinion.
she could have not been into Erica, but that has nothing to do with, as people are claiming, she wasn't really bisexual.
Right.
That's kind of saying that because a straight couple, one person wasn't into the other. Well, he must be gay then.
Yeah, no,
Like, they probably just didn't click, and that's
It
just
could
all
be.
it
I mean,
is.
the fact is we don't know, and so it's not really.
And
It's
people
really
shouldn't
it's really a
question
reflection
things
of your
like
own
that.
of your own predisposition towards one or the other, whether it's true. Same thing with Stephanie's disease. A lot of people, like, I see this on Reddit all the time, people talking about how, she makes a big deal out of it, but then she never wears a mask except for that one scene. It's like that she didn't have any to come home with. It's like, look, that's so outside of what any of us can deduce from just watching these highly edited sequences,
Right.
we really ought
She's
to.
not going to wear a mask during filming,
Yeah,
guys.
we ought to maybe take a step back from that one. I mean, I get it. It's fun to dunk on Stephanie. Lord knows we've all done it, but that's one where it's like, we don't have the information to draw a conclusion on that.
It's a matter of opinion on whether
Yeah.
you like the things they do say
Exactly.
or not. It's not
Well,
a
and if you
matter
don't
of
like
facts.
someone, you're going to nitpick at every single
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
they do. Oh my God, she curled her hair to get on an airplane. It's like,
Yeah.
She looked
I've seen
nice
worse.
dressing for an yeah. Again, that's all opinion stuff. It's not fact based. Oh,
Right.
this is fraud. Oh, she's lying. Oh, she must be just kidding about her disease or whatever.
Yeah,
You know.
and I bring that up just because I kind of want people to back off those types of claims and like just admit you don't like her. That's fine. It's okay. Like I'm with you. You know, we don't need to make up shit.
She's your cracker eater. It's fine.
can't even segue from Cracker Eater, but are we missing anyone? I think we should probably address, because Sean said it in the very beginning, and I'm assuming people missed
I got a
those first
lot of
5
questions
minutes,
about Jeffrey and Varya,
that
why they weren't
Jeffrey
there.
and Varya are not in the tell-all. They're not going to be in the clapback. They're not going to be in anything else, as far as we know.
As you
And
notice,
it all relates to the current charges that are against
the
Jeffrey.
current ones, not his past ones.
The current ones that are still pending on him. If TLC, I don't know, is risk averse in anything they do, it's putting him back on when those charges haven't cleared up or been settled yet.
There's a really quick way to summarize this. 3 letters. CYA. That's why they didn't have him
your
on.
ass, and that's what they're doing. Which
He has allegations of various domestic assault and kidnapping and some other kinds of charges in that realm. They're allegations at this point, but they are made by 2 separate women. One is his wife. Yes, his current wife. He is not divorced from wife number 4 or whatever it is. People, and I know you've addressed this agency countless times, and people are still talking about it like all over my Instagram. I saw is that because he's got these felonies in his past and his current charges, he couldn't sponsor somebody over. You've clarified this ad nauseum. He can sponsor somebody. What will stop him is the fact that he's still married to his current wife.
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, if you look at it from TLC's perspective, whether we don't know what they knew and when they knew it, but they know now, and they know that if they put him on the tell-all, he would be a magnet for some like real fire, and it would distract. It would have blown up the entire tell-all. Other casts might have boycotted. People would have others who might have come for him, and it would have been nasty, and it would be the kind of train wreck that even they can't handle. There's 2 kinds of train wrecks that there's one kind of train wreck that they want, but what they don't want is 2 school buses full of children crashing into each other. And that's what they would have gotten
And
with
so
Jeffrey.
they didn't invite Jeffrey, and Varya was invited, but she elected not to participate because Jeffrey wasn't going
as
to
we
be
found
there.
out, they're probably still together.
That's the question I get a lot. I don't have evidence of it. Do you?
Don't have evidence that they're not together.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it goes both ways. One thing I think is easier for TLC is once all this airs and if something happens, they can easily cut him out of one season. It would be really hard to cut him out of the tell-all, to cut him out of some after story, to cut him after anything else. But they could definitely cut his segments and just make the episodes shorter to put on the app. Like, no one cares after that point.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking for a specific scene that he was in. And we do know, I know, that they will take out segments after it's aired because maybe they got a copyright claim or a complaint about something. So, for example, the second party with Erica and Stephanie, where we see Adam for the second
You looked
time.
really hard for that.
That it's gone. It's not in the episode where it aired.
It's not in the episode anymore. But
I searched
could
for
have
hours for it. I couldn't find it because they took it out.
They could have normalized some of the episodes. You know, some were like really abnormally long. Who knows if they were just normalizing episodes? But yeah, it was gone, and I don't know what reason other than maybe Adam like said I don't, because he like disappeared. He wasn't there anymore.
Well, I think if I had to guess, and I don't have any proof for this, is that they didn't have permission from the publisher of the particular game they were playing to show the game on screen. and they might have gotten hit.
Wouldn't that be something?
They might have gotten
wouldn't
hit
that
with
be
a
something?
copyright, with like a copyright claim or a licensing claim. They didn't want to pony up the money.
I could see that actually happening.
But that's just a guess. I have no evidence. It's just my guess.
Well, and they would have blurred out like Monopoly and shit like that. So
There could be another
totally
reason.
possible.
We don't know. I'd like to know, but
Yeah.
Inquiring minds would like to know why that 5-minute segment was taken out of the show.
Yeah.
So, if anyone knows.
Anyone knows,
Please.
let us know. I think that's it. Is that all the fraud that's
Yay.
fit to be uncovered?
No,
For this season?
it's already it's been uncovered so many times. Because the season doesn't end.
so you're saying that's all the fraud and it wasn't worth uncovering in the first place.
No, it was
Some of
worth-
it could have stayed under the blanket. Some of it was a little skeevy when we pulled back the covers.
Yeah, yeah. So, just a little housekeeping again. Just a reminder, we are taking a little bit of a break. We're gonna just take this little breather, but in this couple weeks, we're just taking a breather from the on-air Fraudcast. We will continue to put out the Patreon for the paying content. If you want to join us over there, it's patreon.com/thefraudcast. Currently, Agency has been joining us over there for the last couple episodes and will continue to join us as we discuss marriage customs, marriage, dating, and sex customs around the world. We started with Ukraine mail order bride stories, and then we moved to China, and then we moved to Japan. We had a couple episodes on Japan. And this week we are going to do Middle East. We have a Middle East expert coming on. She's going to talk about all of that and like Sharia law and what, we've had several people on the show 90 Day that have these women marrying, Arab men and whatnot. So we're going to address a lot of that stuff. So come join us over there. It's only $3 a month. You can join for $5 a month and get some stickers the first time. So that will still continue to be put out. And while the regular Fraudcast is on a break, we're going to be making some changes and improvements, and we're excited to share those with you when we come back. Shameless self-promotion, Agency.
Well, as you guys know, I have a website, www.askthevisaofficer.com, where you can get services related to your visa-related questions. But I also have the Agency show on YouTube, which you can go and watch glorious content that will just tickle your fancies in all kinds of ways. New videos go up every week, unless they don't. There's a new video coming up this Friday, in addition to the couple that are already there. It's a relatively new channel, so you're going to see improvements and all kinds of glorious things occur as time unfolds. But really, if you're not watching it, what are you doing with your life?
What are you doing with your life?
Hanekawa, what do you have going
on? You
on?
can find me at the usual at 90 Day Fiance today. Yeah, that's it.
Nothing else to share? Okay.
I mean, are we ready? I'm not ready to share it yet.
Okay.
So it's a little surprise that
She's
when
got
it's
some
ready,
things in the works.
Yeah.
So, so that'll be cool. And I'm frauded by TLC. I already talked about the Patreon, patreon.com/thefraudcast, link in the show notes or my bio. You can also find me doing like all non-90 day stuff at Just Frauded on Instagram. That's my non-90 day stuff, so I don't clog my 90 day feed. And I think that's it. Oh, Patreon. Patrons. I want to give a shout out to our most recent patrons. So I've got Fiona, the Tao of Tao. I think we've given you before. Anyway, Heather, Genzy, Sarah, Carla, Jason, Katie, Veronica, Mary Rose, Stephanie, Megan, Kelly, Elisiar, Kristen, Amy, Melanie, Allison, Amber, Samantha, Cheryl, Melissa, Claudia, Courtney, Tyler, Shannon, Stephanie, Haley, Shannon, Haley and then Shannon, two separate people. It made it sound like it was one name. Callie, Kendra, Molly, Holly, Rachel, Krisha, Kat, Kathleen. Sorry, there's so many. I haven't done the last couple episodes. Kathleen, Melody, Chantel, Kurt. Am I starting to repeat names from last time yet? Stephanie, Patricia, T, Nyla, Caitlin, Giselle, Megan, P, Marion, Circe. Any of these were starting to be familiar? Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's it since the last time. You guys, thank you all for being patrons. Thank you guys all for listening to this. We are going to miss you. We still will be on Instagram and doing our thing there. Agency will be doing his YouTube. That's it, YouTube. And that's it. Thank you for giving us your time, and enjoy your break from us. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. We are the Fraudcast, and we're dumpster diving so you don't have to.
This Fraudcast has been produced and edited by yours truly. Art by Sarah Dawdy. Music written, produced, and performed by Umami. Further assistance provided by many unnamed fraud consultants.